What is going on, y'all? It is Vix, and I'm back with another. Hey, I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded. I don't really have a good excuse for that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been doing a lot of other things. Don't really have anything to do with YouTube. I would like to upload more. I just don't really know what to upload. Like, I haven't really been playing as many games as much, at least, like, that I don't play all the time. Point is, I don't know, working on other projects, writing scripts and trying to do short films or whatever. But point is, this is the second unofficial-esque episode of the Brummonth podcast. I would love to do we actually sit down. I mean, I'm always sitting down, but like we actually do like a more, not formal, like I don't want this to be super formal, but like it's a podcast on purpose kind of thing. Like, I'd love to get John or Vinny or someone in here to talk about a movie or a show or an anime, and we just like talk about it for a good period of time. So would love to do that. But this is the second unofficial episode of the podcast where I talk about the new Code Geass show, Rozé the Recapture, that just came out June 21st. Code Geass is my favorite anime of all time, so I got a lot of thoughts on it. Very mixed thoughts. But I hope you enjoyed regardless, and I will see you in the next video in about a year or so. Hopefully not, but enjoy.
Minor.
Okay, so basically, let me set the scene for y'all. So y'all know, most of you know, that Code Geass is my favorite anime of all time. Like, I love it to death. I will defend it. I mean, not the people like coming after Code Geass, but like I love Code Geass basically. Number one favorite anime of all time, undisputed. Like, there's some shows which are a close second, but I love Code Geass. So that show ended a long time ago. Code Geass ended who knows how long ago, because that show ended in like 2009. I don't know. Basically, point is, love Code Geass. And then a movie came out from Code Geass titled Code Geass Lucia the Resurrection. And basically, the movie continuity of Code Geass is different from the show continuity, because there are certain events that only happen in these movies, but I haven't seen all the movies. So I didn't know that until I watched the new one that they released into theaters and stuff, which had a worldwide release called Lucia the Resurrection. So I didn't know that there was a separate continuity, and so I watched it and I was like, okay, that's different, I guess they're retconning it, but no, different continuity. It's like, okay, the movie was good. I mean, okay, here's the thing with Code Geass. They've released other Code Geass stuff since the show, but it's never been as good as the original show. And the movie was kind of like that. Like, I enjoyed it. I like seeing some of the characters again. I liked seeing the world post like the events of Code Geass, because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't finished. And I thought, decent. And after the movie came out, they announced, we're gonna make a new Code Geass show, which are gonna follow, I will never finish. You better freaking finish, bro. And they're like, we're gonna make a new Code Geass show, which will follow the events of the movie, following Lily Shona's journey, doing etc. I was like, awesome, because I love the way that ends. Like, I'm curious to see where it goes. And they were like, it's gonna be called Code Geass Z of the Recapture. I was like, that sounds awesome. Can't wait to see it. They announced that movie in 2020? Or they announced Z of the Recapture in 2020. So then we are waiting and waiting and waiting. They're like, okay. And then like 2 years later, they announced something else. They're like, Code Geass Z of the Recapture is in production. I was like, okay, you guys gonna tell us anything more? They released this very like minimalist cryptic image. It looked cool, and it's like Code Geass Z of the Recapture. I was like, awesome, can't wait to see it. And I was like, I can't wait for another show that like follows the loop. Like, even though, if you've watched Code Geass, not exactly ideal, but I love him, love the show, love everything. And I was like, okay, I'm curious to see it. And so later, 2023, so about another year later, we get another announcement, and they're like, actually, this is called we're more into production. It's called Code Geass, Rozé of the Recapture, not Z of the Recapture, and it's now following these two brothers who are against the Empire. Like, it became very confusing, and I was like, okay, what happened to the whole we're gonna follow the Luciano's journey thing? I was like, this sounds more like Super Saiyan Rosé. Basically, that's how it's pronounced. And I was like, okay, well, that strays very much from the original idea of the series you told me about, which I was excited for. But I'm still gonna check it out because I love Code Geass. But this sounds way more like Aikido, which is these Code Geass movies they released, like 2015 or something, that are really boring, that take place in between season 1 and season 2, and very confusing to whatever, like, they really don't align with the whole continuity of Code Geass and are very confusing and very boring. And I watched all 5 just because I was curious, because me and Gabe kept falling asleep. But I watched them all. They didn't really no, just don't, avoid those. And I was like, okay, not as excited for this anymore, but I'm still gonna check it out. And they released these trailers, and I was like, I don't know any of these people, but whatever. I mean, it's Code Geass, I'm gonna watch it, I don't really care. And then they released the opening, and the opening was fire. I was like, all right, you got me hooked again, because I will watch a show just for the opening. Like, that can get me hooked onto a show. And so I was like, when does this take place again? Because this seems very weird. And so I guess it takes place after the events of the original series, but before the movie Lelouch the Resurrection. I was like, okay, sure, that's strange. Or I can't really tell if it's after so far, but basically, so today it came out. It came out a while ago in Japan, maybe like a month ago. But today, episode 1 comes out in America. So I sat down on my couch in the game room, and I watched episode 1 of Code Geass, Rozé the Recapture, and I was hyped. I was like, all right, what has Code Geass got for us today? And it started, and I was like, okay, interesting. It follows these, like, the opening scene is like these 2 kids who get chased down by these, like, you know, the nightmare frames, the mechs, and they get blasted off a cliff. I was like, all right, interesting. I don't know what that means, but interesting. And then they go into the narration and basically set the stage for the world. And so in Code Geass, if you've watched the series, you know that they do this whole thing where it's like, okay, Britannia basically took over the world. Like, imagine a world where America lost the Revolutionary War, Britain won and took over most of the world and was known as Britannia. That's Code Geass. And Japan is known as Area 11. But if you watch Code Geass, you know Area 11 doesn't stay Area 11. There's a whole thing with that. Basically, the way this show starts, Rozé the Recapture, is by doing the events of Code Geass Season 1 again. They literally... I didn't know that. Well, I'm sorry. It's kind of hard to talk about this show without spoiling Code Geass because it takes place after. Hey, listen. I'm trying. But basically, they do the events of Code Geass again. They're like, okay, there's this new Neo-Britannian Empire, and Japan is now isolated, and they literally say it's reminiscent of the time when Japan was known as Area 11. Sir, we did this already. That's called Season 1 of Code Geass. So I'm like, okay, so we're back where we started? So you're telling me the events of Code Geass meant almost like nothing? Because we're back to where we started, where Japan is being terrorized by another empire again. Like, we did that. We had a whole show about that, and now we're doing it again. Why? Like, it was very compelling in 2006 when it came out, but why are we doing it again? If I wanted to see Japan fight back against tyranny, against Britannia, I'd go watch Code Geass, and I can. It's very much available to me. So why are we doing it? I don't know. I really don't. And so it follows these 2 brothers, Rozé and Ash. Rozé has a Geass power, which allows him. Is it at least? I don't know yet. I have no idea. Because it's frustrating me already. Because Rozé has a Geass power, which allows him to command people to do what he says. You know who else has that Geass power? Lelouch.
Lelouch v Britannia commands you!
They gave us a less compelling, less interesting version of... They gave us a guy with the same power? In the same setup as the original show? Like, I don't understand if Sunrise thinks I'm stupid or what sounds interesting. Well, you can't. You have to watch the show first because you got to finish Code Geass first. And it's just like, okay, sure. There's a lot of Geass powers, I guess. Not really. I don't. It grabs the lore and the universe and the continuity and just tears it asunder. And so I was like, okay, sure. I can accept that, I guess. And they're like, okay, there's this girl that's captured. She's the princess or something like that. Turns out, I guess this is a spoiler for Rozé the Recaptured. Does anyone care? Because anyone gonna watch this show? Whatever. I'm not gonna spoil it. But there's a twist with Rosé's identity or whatever. And so basically, that's how they set it up. I was like, okay. So the events of Code Geass again. And then, so him and his brother, Ash, they're the nameless mercenaries. And they go around Japan and, like, kill Britannians, basically. And, like, kill the evil Empire people. And I was like, okay. Interesting. But there's also a terrorist group who, just a rebellion against Britannia of Japanese people. And there's literally a scene where these terrorists, or the rebellion, is in their base. And they're like, can we really trust these nameless mercenaries? Like, they're strangers. We don't know them. That scene is the exact same scene that happens in Code Geass episode 1. Or episode 2, I think. Where Lelouch, after he gets his power, he, like, starts commanding people. He's, like, this mysterious voice. And he starts commanding the Japanese rebellion of how to beat Britannia. And they're literally like, can we trust this nameless stranger guy? Like, the nameless mercenary just genociding minorities? No, they're killing Britannians. So they're good. Because they're killing the evil Empire people. However, so it's like, I don't understand. Because, like, I watched that, and there's literally a guy sitting in the exact same, like, position as one of the people, as, like, Ogi in episode 2 or episode 3 of Code Geass, where he's like, I don't know if we can trust this nameless stranger guy. Like, I mean, they have results, but I don't know if we can just trust this person. We've never seen them. We don't know anything about them. So all Britannia, waifu, and Japan deserve to die. Well, most of them are pretty evil and racist. So, yeah. The catch is, though, that these nameless mercenaries are also Britannian. But the Britannians are mostly evil and racist. Like, it literally shows this guy. They go to a gas station, and there's this manager guy who's Britannian, and his employee is Japanese. He's literally, like, abusing her and punching her. He's like, you worthless Japanese, you dirty monkey. Like, nah, most of them are straight up racist and evil. So, yeah, no, they kind of do deserve death. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, we had a whole show about rebelling against Britannia, and Japan becomes, accepted, and, like, the whole race, like, not that they solve racism, but things are definitely different. So the fact that we're just revert back to the status quo, low-key pisses me off. But the thing is, the show itself isn't bad. Like, the action is decent. I'm interested in the characters. I like the music. Love the opening. The visuals look pretty good. Like, definitely a very modern animation style for Code Geass, which I like. But yeah, it's a complete so far, because I'm only one episode is out, but they're literally basically doing, they're on the same trajectory as the original series. Like the episode ends where they're going to a prison to free the nameless mercenaries, join the rebellion group, and they're going to a prison to free their comrades. So that's different, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes. But the fact that the setup and the whole idea of the show, like the general premise, is the same as season 1 of the original series, which came out in 2006, which was an original anime. Code Geass did not have a manga before it was made. It got a manga after. And the fact that we're copying that is annoying. Like, I don't understand. Why would we... It's not like it doesn't exist. It's not like, oh, well, you know, they haven't seen Code Geass. Because you're continuing after the events of Code Geass. So one would assume that if you're watching the show, you've watched Code Geass. So why are we doing it again? Like, no one thought that would be weird? Like, I can't imagine being in a boardroom, or however these shows get made. You're in the writer's room. I'm like, okay, where do we want to take place? Like, how are we going to start this? I'm like, you know, I really like the idea of having Japan fight against tyranny in an isolated area. It's like, oh, really? John, that is fascinating. I love that. Let's do that. No one was sitting there and was like, hey, didn't we do that already in 2006? In Code Geass, Lelouch the Rebellion, the original show that is loved and known. It's like, nope. I don't remember that one. That was it's like, man, 2006 was a long time. That was 18 years ago, man. You really think I remember that? But then we could, that's just, oh, it's so frustrating. But I'm still gonna check it out. Like, I'm still curious to watch episode 2, but I feel like how Star Wars fans feel sometimes. Like, I love Star Wars, and I have Star Wars posters, but I'm not one of those fans who's like, they're disrupting the lore or whatever. Like, it's like, guys, it's really not that big of a deal. But this is so overt and so bad and so blatant, the way they're just doing it again, that I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't know how we got here. I guess 17 years old. And I just... Japan fights against tyranny from Britannia, an isolated area. Our protagonist has Geass power, which allows him to command people to do what he wants. An excessive hand movement. Where have I seen this show before? Yeah. If you haven't seen Code Geass, go watch Code Geass. Go finish it. And honestly, when you're done with Code Geass, just don't watch anything else. I mean, maybe check out Rozé the Recapture if you're that interested. But I'll let you know how the rest goes. I think the episode's going to be dropping weekly from here on. So we'll see if it gets any better or if it doesn't piss me off as less. But as of right now, I don't even know how to feel. Like, I have such mixed feelings about the show because it's not bad on its own accord, but the premise is awful because it's just the way they're doing the things again is just stupid. So I don't know, man. I'm very mixed on the show, so check it out if you want. If not, honestly, don't. Just after you finish Code Geass, that's it. Just continue on with your day and just love the Code Geass. My Geass power would be blood manipulation. It shows though. Too bad Geass powers don't work like that. They're very I don't know, mind-ish. Like, it's not just like supernatural power, like an energy blast and stuff. It's like, I'll command you to do a thing, or I make you look like someone else. Like, they're very cognitive based, so it's not just over supernatural powers. So I don't think that would be a Geass power. You would just be a freaking freak, and they'd probably kill you in that world.